Hi, and welcome to Art with Mrs. Torres. It's finally December. I'm so excited. I have been waiting patiently for it to become cooler where I live. And finally, it's feeling like it's going to be winter. Now, we are going to be making a project today about winter wonderland animals. And we are going to be using some basic shapes like a circle, a triangle, a square, and maybe an oval to create our animals. The other items that you are going to be looking for in your house today are a piece of paper. You're going to need a pencil and an eraser. Of course, our Sharpie marker, what we use almost every lesson, and then something to color with. So I'm going to let you choose. You could use markers, you could use colored pencils, or you could use my favorite, crayons. So go ahead and gather up those items and then meet me back here and we will begin our lesson. Well, welcome back. You have gathered up your paper. You've got a pencil, Sharpie marker, and eraser. You also have something to color with. You can be using crayons, markers, colored pencils, whatever you have around the house. So I want to show you what we're going to be drawing today. So we are going to be learning how to draw 4 different woodland creatures. We've got a bear, a fox, a raccoon, and a deer. Let's begin our project. So the first thing we're going to be doing is taking our paper and folding it into 4 different sections. I'm going to start by taking the left-hand side of my paper and folding it over to the right-hand side. Now don't pick your paper up, just do it while it's on the table. And the reason you want to always keep it flat on the table, it's going to make a better crease. So once I flip it over like this, I'm going to take my first finger and slide it right to the middle here. And you're going to see the paper gets a little pop in it. Then you can slide your finger up to the top and slide your finger down to the bottom. Now we're going to take that whole section and you're going to fold it in half one more time all the way up to the top. So however you want to do that to feel most comfortable, I'm just going to kind of slightly bend it just a little bit, lining it up, holding my fingers up here. Going to do the same thing, going to pop it right in the middle here and then slide my finger both ways. When you're finished, you're going to open it up and you will have 4 different sections. So each section is going to be a different animal. We're going to start by drawing 4 different shapes, 1 in each box. In the top box, we're going to start with a square. So I'm going to have you take your pencil and you're going to draw very lightly a large square that takes up about almost the whole box. Just going to start by very lightly sketching a nice big wide square, nice and light. You should still have a little space on sides, a little space down below, and a little space up above. If your square is larger than mine, that is absolutely fine. If your space is smaller, that's okay too. All right, we're going to leave that shape for now. We're going to move over here to our next section over here. Now for this one, we're going to be drawing a triangle, but we're going to be making our triangle upside down. So I'm going to come a little bit above the bottom line right here where that fold is. I'm going to come up a little bit from there and make a dot. That's going to be the bottom of my triangle. And then I'm going to decide how wide I want my triangle to be. So I'm going to kind of make a mark a little bit in from the side, and I'm going to start by making a really wide letter V. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side by sketching out a nice light line. I mean, the top of the triangle. I'm just going to go across like this. Now I'm going to leave it just like that for now. Later, we will add some more details. So right now we have 1 square and 1 triangle. We're going to come down to this bottom section here, and we're going to draw a wide circle right in the middle. Just nice and big and chubby. Don't worry once again about it being perfect. This is just a shape. Square, triangle, circle. Last one is an oval. So for the oval, we're going to be making a tall oval, and we want it fairly wide. Now we don't want to draw it too up high because we have to save room. We're going to be turning this into a deer, so we want to save some room for the antlers. So I'm going to make my oval a little bit lower in the square. Still going to make it kind of wide. So now we have a square, a triangle, a circle, and an oval. from those 4 shapes, we're going to create 4 different animals. We're going to start up here at the top, and we're going to create a bear. So right up here in that top corner, I want you to draw a large half circle right here, right over that corner. I want you to match it on the other side, just a large half circle. Now you can go in with your magic rubber eraser and erase the corners of the square. Now from here, we're going to add the inside of the ear. So we're just going to curve a little line around here and here. And now we're going to create the muzzle on our bear. And the muzzle is going to go down here in the lower section. We're going to draw a wide circle right in the lower area. Make it pretty big. Inside that circle, we're going to draw either a circle or an oval on its side. Now, when I make a bear's nose, I like to make it a long oval like this, but you can draw a circle. Next, we're going to go up here, right at the very top, and we're going to draw 2 dots for eyes. So depending upon what style you like to draw, you can make your eyes close together or far apart. I'm going to be resting my eyes close to the muzzle. So I'm going to draw a large oval here and another large oval on the other side. When I'm finished, I'm going to draw a short line down from the nose here. And I'm going to give my bear a little smile. Right above the eye, I'm going to draw a little mark for the eyebrow. And then in this space right up here, we're going to be adding a hat. And the space down here, we're going to be drawing a scarf wrapped around his neck. So to make the hat, I'm just going to go in this big gap right here between the ears. I'm going to draw a half curve on this side and a half curve on this side. I'm going to connect them at the bottom and the top. Now inside that line where the top of the head used to be, I'm going to erase that line. By the way, if I am going too fast, you know what you can do. You can always pause the video at any time to get caught up. And if I'm taking too much time, you can speed up the video too. Now, when you're finished with that, we're going to create the top of the hat. So I'm just going to make a half of a circle across the top and a circle right above that. Later, we'll change that design of the hat, but for now, that's what we're going to do. Now we're going to come down to the bottom here where his chin is, and we're going to wrap his neck in with a big scarf. I'm going to go over on the side here, and I'm going to make a curved line. And I'm going to go on to this side and make a curved line. Now the scarf is going to be wrapped all the way around his neck, and you might have less space than me depending upon how large you made your bear. So if you don't have as much room as me, that's absolutely fine. So I'm just going to kind of round this curve around like this. And I'm going to round it here at the top too. So it's kind of covering up a little bit of his face. So now I'm going to erase those 2 corners down here because the scarf is kind of wrapped around his neck. I'm going to add some shoulders. I have a little room for shoulders. And you can leave the scarf like this. If you have room, you can make the scarf hanging down. And if you don't have room, you could make the scarf blowing in the wind. You could just draw a little bit of the scarf coming up like this, and then add a few tassels on the end. Now our next character that we're going to be drawing is a fox. And don't worry, we're going to change this a little bit later and add a little bit more details to the face, but we're just simplifying it right now. So we're going to get ready to draw a fox from our upside down triangle. We made a big wide V and we crossed it on the top. We're going to start by giving our fox some pointed ears. When I'm drawing these ears, it's almost like the shape of a leaf or a football. Thinking of a football or the shape of a leaf is exactly what a fox's ears look like. Now I'm going to draw a half of a curve right here, coming from the point and swooping in. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, swooping in. And right here at the bottom now, I'm going to draw his nose. So I'm just going to draw an oval on its side, just like how I drew the bear's nose. I'm going to erase the inside of that oval. Now we're going to draw the stripe that runs down the fox's muzzle. So I'm going to go right here on this side of the nose and make a mark, and right here on this side of the nose and make a mark. So what we're going to be doing is taking this line, we're going to bring it up, and then we're going to swoop it out to the side like this, kind of like we're making a candy cane. We're going to match that line on the other side. So I'm going to bring it up and then kind of look at the other one to give me an idea of where to draw my curve on the other side. And then we're going to put the eyes into our fox. So I'm going to put my eyes right in this space here. I'm drawing kind of a tall oval. And I like my animals to look a little bit happier. So what I do on my picture, you don't have to do this, but if you want to, you can draw that upper eye curve right here from the lower eyelid. See how I'm curving that line? It kind of makes your animals look a little happier. So instead of leaving my fox like this, I'm just going to put a little curve at the bottom of each of those eyes. I'm going to match it with my bear too. I'm also going to add a half circle inside the eye. I'm going to do the same on my bear. And this is going to remind me later I'm going to be coloring just the bottom with my Sharpie marker. So I take my pencil and I just brush it very lightly in that section. So I've got a little bit of a highlight in the fox's eye. I know it's not showing up very well on camera on this side, so I'm going to clean it up a little bit for you there. So when you're finished, you're going to give your fox a little eyebrow mark. Later, you can decide if you want it to be a girl fox or a boy fox. You can add eyelashes if you'd like. And then I'm going to draw a basic curved line on this side and on this side for the fox's body. Now I'm going to go up here to that nice big space in between, and I'm going to give my fox a little hat. So you'll have to decide what kind of hat you want to give your fox. I'm going to give my fox just a little winter ski cap that kind of folds over on the side. And I'm going to make it kind of small. I think it looks kind of cute doing it small, but you could be doing a jumbo hat if you want to. So I'm just going to make a little space right here in the middle. And I'm kind of drawing a rectangle, just like I did on this one, but I'm going to make it fluffy later. But this is my basic shape to start with. Then I'm going to make a part of a line on this side, just a short one. And then I'm going to make a curve that swoops out. I'm going to draw a ball on the end and a curve that swoops up and over and back again. When I'm finished, I'm going to erase this part right inside the brim of the hat. And then later, we'll change this and we'll make it fluffy. Now, if you would like to add a scarf around your fox's neck, you can. I have a lot of space there, so I have room, but you might not have space, and that's okay. Or maybe you want your fox to be wearing a sweater. You could do a cute sweater too. So it's really up to you. So in my picture, I did a scarf. How did I draw that? Let me show you. The first thing I did was I drew a half curve on this side and a half curve on this side. And then I rounded it around. I erased the shoulder lines that are underneath the scarf because that wouldn't show. And if you want your scarf to even look even more detailed, you can add a little bend in it like this, kind of like a little fold. And now I've got a nice space over here where I could make the scarf blowing in the wind. I could also make the scarf coming off to the side like this. Maybe I'm going to have the scarf coming up and swooping over like this. I'm going to erase the shoulders. Erasing this part, it wouldn't show. If I took a part of my scarf coming up and over, this part would be hidden in my scarf. Oh, I think that's going to look great. I'm going to put a couple stripes on my scarf. And now that picture's done. I'm going to move down now to my circle right here. And this is where we're going to draw a raccoon. So we did a nice big wide circle. So a raccoon has pointed ears. So it's almost going to look like we're drawing a cat. So I'm going to draw a pointed ear that's nice and wide on this side. Match it on this side. I'm going to add a slight curve inside the ear. And then I'm going to make my raccoon have a furry cheek. So on this side, I'm just going to make this area a little wider. And I'm going to match it on this side. I just kind of went like a zigzag line. And then I'm going to add a muzzle right here in the middle. So I'm just going to draw a circle, kind of like how I did the bears, but it's going to be smaller. And I'm going to draw a stripe right here, just like how we did the fox. I'm going to be doing the same thing for my raccoon. And I'm going to go up and over and back. I'm going to match it on this side, up and over and back. Then I'm going to do the same thing here and bring it back and back. Now these two patches of fur will be coloring darker later because a raccoon kind of has a mask of fur around his eyes. Speaking of eyes, we will add those in just a minute, but let's put that nose in our little raccoon picture. So I'm going to draw a little sideways oval. And I'm going to draw a little small smile, so a short line down and a little smile on both sides. For my raccoon, I'm going to be making his eyes close to the muzzle. Trying to make them about the same size. Looks like this one is a little too far from the edge. I'm going to bring it in a little closer. So sometimes when I'm drawing, something doesn't look right. And the way that I check my work is by setting my pencil in the middle like this. And when I set my pencil, I can measure the distance from my nose to one eye and my nose to the other eye. And I could already tell that that eye was a little bit too low and also too far apart. I think that's a little better. And then I'm going to put that lower eyelid on like we did earlier, where we just kind of put that little curve. I'm going to add a half circle at the top of the eye with a light scribble underneath, just to remind me that's the part I'm going to be coloring later with my Sharpie marker. I'm going to give a little hint of an eyebrow. And then I'm going to add my rounded shoulders. And now we're going to decide what kind of clothing are we going to put on our winter raccoon. So what style hat do you want to do? Do you want to do a ski cap? Do you want to do earmuffs? That would be kind of cute too. Any style hat that you want to do. So I'm going to draw a little ski cap. I'm going to start with a rectangle. I'm going to erase this part here. And this ski cap is going to be kind of long and bendy. I'm going to put a couple wrinkles in the bottom of it and a big puffball on the end. All right, we've got one more space on our raccoon right down here. So what could you do for the raccoon? You could give your raccoon a sweater. You could give your raccoon a scarf. I've already done scarves a couple times, so maybe I'll make this into a sweater. So I'm going to give my sweater kind of like a little turtleneck. And then I'll have to think of a little pattern to put across my sweater. I'm going to draw a stripe across like this. And then later, when it's time, with my marker, I'll be creative and think of a couple ideas. So I'm going to make some stripes going down my sweater. Now our final animal over here, this is going to be our deer. Now you can turn it into a reindeer or just a regular winter deer. It's up to you. So the first thing is we're going to add our ears over to the side of our oval. So I'm going to draw another leaf shape, just like how we drew the fox's ears, but this time they're going to be pointing this way and this way instead of straight up. I'm going to go from the corner and loop it in. I'm going to draw another leaf shape on this side. I'm going to corner and loop it in. I'm going to come right down here at the bottom. This is where I'm going to draw a tall oval. Now inside that oval, I'm going to draw a large nose. Now if you were going to be doing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, you would make this big nose red later. If you're just going to be drawing a regular deer, you can make the nose any color you want. So I'm not going to have my deer smiling. I'm just going to make a little circle at the bottom and color it in. I'm going to give my reindeer 2 rounded cheeks on each side. Now that almost looks like his eyes are closed, but I'm going to add the eyes on top of those eyelids. So I'm going to go right here and right here and draw my ovals. I'm going to draw a half circle, lightly pencil in the bottom, and add those eyebrows. Now, in order to make our reindeer look like a reindeer, we're going to have to put some antlers up above his head. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to start by drawing 2 very light lines coming out of the top of his head that kind of look like antennas. Now, we're going to draw 1 short line on this side and 1 short line on this side. And then we're going to do the same on the other side in another location. So you can do 1 above this one and 1 above that one. You're going to match it on this side. So the same thing, 2 short lines and 2 more short lines in between the other lines from the other side. So that's the base of our antenna. I'm sorry, our antler, and they do kind of look like a bug antenna when we begin. Now we're going to take our pencil and we're going to be erasing all of this in just a minute. What we're going to do is trace around this to form the antler. So the first thing I'm going to do is right here at the top, I'm going to trace around the antler point right here. Now I'm going to bring it down. Let me zoom in so you can watch me do this. I'm going to zoom in a little bit just so you can see it a little closer. So now I'm going to curve around this side and bring it back. I'm going to stop before I get to the line. I'm going to bring it a part of the way down. And now I'm going to loop it around the next part of the antler. And then bring it back in and straight down. So now we'll be erasing this whole inside when we're done. Go back up to the top. We're going to loop it out and around and back. Now this line's going down, so I'm going to copy it by going down. Now it's jutting out, so I'm going to go out and around. And for the final part, I'm going to head back down to the head. When I'm finished, I will erase that inside using my magic rub or the end of my pencil. So once you erase this part in here, you'll see you're left with a little antler. So let's go on over to this side. We'll do the same thing, starting from either the top or the bottom. If you want to start from the bottom, you can go like this. You're drawing parallel to that line. You're going to trace around. Now you're going to go back up. Don't forget to do the extra little part that goes up again before you start to go looping around each little branch of the antler. I'm going to loop around the top, loop around the side. Now, before I loop around here, I want to remember to bring it back down, loop around, and then come all the way back. When it's finished, you're going to erase your pencil lines. I'm going to go in with the edge of my pencil. I have a little bit of an eraser on that. It's a little smaller. I can fit it in that space just a little easier. The only erasers that I like are Ticonderoga pencil. They're erasers. For some reason, they don't get that dark pink smudge on the paper. So if you're working with the Ticonderoga pencil, you're okay to use their erasers. They're usually pretty good. All right, now we're going to move on to drawing his shoulders or her shoulders. I'm just going to draw a little curved line like this and this. And then you can decide what kind of scarf or sweater you want to put around the neck of your reindeer. So I'm erasing my pencil lines. I'm going to create my little scarf with a little bit of a tassel. I'm going to zoom out now so you can see our 4 little critters. All right, our characters are done. Now we're going to go in with our Sharpie marker and do all the fun details. So the marker I'm going to be working with is a fine point, which just means a Mr. Chubby. It's got that nice pointed tip on it. It's not too skinny. If you want to do really fine details, you could always go in with the extra fine point marker, but for today, I'm just going to be using this one. All right, so we're going to move in and start to trace over all of our lines. But before I have you do this on your own, I want to show you how I kind of change up my work a little bit. For instance, when I'm coming up here and I'm tracing around, let's say, the bear. If you want to make your bear furry, you don't have to keep it smooth like this. You could actually give him a little fur on his cheeks like that. So you don't have to keep the line smooth. You could kind of alter it a little bit by just giving him a little fur. When you get ready to trace his pupils of his eyes, you want to be very careful holding your pen straight up and down. And what I do is I trace that little highlight line, that little half circle, and then I'm very lightly going to color in the inside of the eyes. This is a good place that you could also use your extra fine point marker if you have one. Now on any of these characters, if you want to go in and add eyelashes, you can do that as well. So I'm going to start to now ink in all of my lines, and you're going to do the same. And then when you're finished inking everything in, I'll show you a few other little details. So right now, go over and trace over all of your lines that you want to keep. And I wanted to show you one more thing before you keep working. And that is on the fox here, you can keep the fox as a triangle like this, or you could go in and make the fox cheeks a little bit more fuzzy. I'm going to let you decide what you want to do on that, but the same thing, just adds a little bit more fun to the picture. And you don't have to color anything in right now. We can do all of our coloring later with crayons or markers. The only thing that I'm inking in are the black pupils of the eyes, but other than that, I'm going to leave everything open and we will color all of those things in later. All right, keep working. Okay, I have everything inked in now, and I'm going to go in and add a few more details now with my Sharpie. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to change the brim of this hat and make it more like a ski cap. The way I'm going to do that is by adding 2 parallel lines, skipping a small space, adding 2 more parallel lines, and I'm going to continue this 2 parallel line pattern until I get to the end. So if you've ever worn a ski cap, it has ribbing right here that's stretched when you put it over your head. Now on this part of the scarf here, you could put a simple pattern. You want to do something that's really simple that won't be difficult for you to color over later. So just something really simple. You could do hearts or stars or stripes, just something really easy. So I'm making snowflakes by making an X with a plus sign through the middle. I add small dots on the ends, make a little pattern. Add a little bit here on the side. And let's see, another place that you want to change up maybe a little bit would be on your hat here. If you did like a ski cap, you don't have to make a circle for the end. You could make it more of a fluffy puff ball. So if you already made a circle, you can still make that edge kind of rough around the sides, and then it'll look a little bit more fluffy. Now on this cap, if I want to do a different style, let's say you want it to look more like a Santa hat, what you can do is add a little bit of scribbles inside the brim to kind of give the illusion of fluffy fur. Now I also have up here in this hat, I can do this style or even a different style. I can go up here and just make quick little curved half smiles, kind of like a little smile. And that's another style that you can do. That's going to look different when we're done. When you're all finished with doing all of your detail work, then we can go in with our magic rub eraser. We're going to hold our hand like this. I call it the duck's mouth. You're going to erase all your pencil lines, and then we'll do our coloring. So you're going to go in like this, start erasing all your pencil lines. And then when you're done with that, meet me back here and we'll start drawing. Now that everything's been erased, we can get ready to decide how we're going to color our pictures. Now I used a combination of markers and crayons. The only reason I did that is I think the brown marker is very dark. So I don't tend to use it when I'm coloring animals. I like to use crayons or colored pencils instead. But I want you to create what you would like to do. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to block off each box with a marker to figure out, or crayon, so that we can separate each animal. So if you're going to be using crayons, you could just take your crayon and draw that square around the edge with your crayon. If you're going to use markers, you can do that as well. So I'm going to let you decide what color you want to do your first box in. So I'm going to do red this time. Last time I did blue. No, I did purple for my bear last time. So I'm going to do red. I'm just going to run my marker down the side. And then I'm going to choose a different color for each square. And then I'm going to tie that color in somehow with the animal and what the animal's wearing. So now I'm going to do blue. Let's see, maybe green. Now I'm just using Crayola markers. Some sets of markers have lots of different colors. Mine's just a basic set, so I'm just working with what I have here. And I also like purple. Now, once I have all of my boxes separated, I'm going to start to color my animals. All right, let's decide what color you want your bear to be. Now, you could do a polar bear and make your bear be white. And if you're going to do a polar bear white, I would recommend coloring your background with a dark blue or a light blue or some kind of color to make the white stand out for the polar bear. So if we wanted to keep him white, we could do that, but you would want to color the background to help him show up. So we could also do a brown. Now, I mentioned earlier that I think the brown color on the marker is really dark. So I'm going to draw with the brown on his nose so you can see how dark it is. Do you see how dark that brown is? If I was to color his face that color, you wouldn't be able to see his eyes or anything. So I think that color is a little dark. So as you can tell, that's why I don't use the brown marker. Instead, I go with a brown crayon. So I just use a plain old crayon like this, and I get a really nice shade of brown using my crayon. So you can do that trick where you outline the edge a little darker, like that, and then go in and color softly around it. Now, when you're finished with the bear's face, don't forget there might be some shoulders poking out underneath his scarf also. I'm also going to color over the muzzle, and then I'm going to add a little pink to the cheeks, I think, once I'm done with all of my animals. So I'm going to also color his shoulders. Now let me show you a trick with brown. So this is what my bear would look like if I just color with straight brown and no other color. It's fine, it looks great. I think your project will be beautiful with it, but if you want to just give it a little pop and make that brown even more rich, what you can do is add another color over it. Now, I like to work with either orange or a golden yellow. So I'm gonna get my golden yellow out. So either of these colors work really nice over the brown. So let me show you how pretty this looks. So if you take this golden yellow and you run it over the brown, I'm just gonna do one side so you can see the difference. It's gonna give your bear a little bit more of a warm brown, kind of a more golden brown. See that? See the difference between the two sides? Orange does the same thing. It'll just make it a little bit darker. So that's my trick. Now you can do it, and if it feels like it's too yellow and there's too much yellow showing, you can just go back over it one more time with the brown, just to blend those colors together. I can go back in with my brown crayon and just run it over one more time. So once you have your bear drawn, then you're going to figure out what color pattern you want to do for the scarf, and then you're going to move on to the fox. Oh, the scarf and the hat. So for the fox is going to be more of an orangey brown color. So in my marker picture, I used orange, and then I used the peach marker for the part of the fur that was on the cheeks and the eyes and the chest. So, oh, I didn't even draw the chest. If you want to, you can add just a little extra curve line right here to separate the shoulders from the chest. So you could do that with crayons, you could do that with markers, and that's another idea. So when you're doing that with the crayons, I would work with orange and brown together. So I would start out with a base of orange, and I would run it up the top. You can run your brown crayon or a tan crayon over this orange, and that's going to make more of a true fox color. As I'm running my crayon over here, you'll see, because I laid that orange down underneath, it doesn't look quite so dark. Now, crayons and colored pencils are a lot softer, So your animals will look a little bit more soft and fuzzy. Using the markers, they're going to look a little bit more bold and colorful. So you can see they're both beautiful. They're just a different look altogether. Then I can go in with the peach and run the peach along here, or the golden yellow. I'm using golden, excuse me, golden yellow right now, but I'm going to run over this with a peach. You just want the inside fur to look a little different than the outside fur. Now, when you're all finished with your fox, then you can go in and color your raccoon. Now, we got to talk about the raccoon, because the raccoon's coloring is going to be a little bit different than the shades that we've been using. Don't forget the shoulders. And what color should we do the fox's nose? We could do it brown. We could do it black. I think I'm going to do it brown. So you can see there's a big difference between this one and this one, but I like them both. They just have different looks. Now, whatever you do for the chest should match what you did in the face. So I got to go in with my golden yellow and my peach. Those are the colors I chose this time. Every time I do it, it's a little different. I'm going to match that up here in the inner part of the ear. Now, I talked to you about cheeks earlier too. So if you want to put a little hint of color in the cheeks, you can use either a pink or a red. This is a violet red. And I'm just going to brush it right here in that curve. And I'm using the crayon. This doesn't work as well with markers. It works better with crayon. So I used crayon over the peach marker on this one. I'm just going to put a little bit of blush in the cheek. You can add some in the ear. You can add some on the bear. Now for the raccoon, your coloring is going to be a little different. You are going to want to do a gray, a light gray, and a dark gray. I would not recommend coloring him black because you'll lose the detail of his face. So as you can see in my picture here, I used a gray marker, and then I used a gray crayon. So those two pictures, two colors look different. They look the same when you look at them like this, but when you color with them, they're very different. That way, my raccoon had some dark areas, and then his eyes were light. So if you're doing your character and you wanted just to use crayons, what you would do is maybe color the outside part, not this part here, but the outside one shade of gray, and then maybe the inside, this part here, you could color it darker or lighter, and you could do that by blending two different crayons together. Maybe you want to blend black and gray together. You could do that. That would make a really pretty color. So you could start out with gray. You'll see why I like to use the crayon. And then you could go in and add a hint of black over it to make the color a little bit darker. You see, I'm not coloring very hard, but it's going to change the look of this, especially if you colored just gray on the outside. Now, speaking of gray, I have another trick for you with gray. So if you want your gray to be a cool gray, not kind of this flat gray like this, you can add a little bit of light blue to it. So let me color my raccoon with my gray, and then I'm going to pop in a little bit of blue over the gray. And you'll see it just adds a really pretty shade to it. Haven't decided what color the nose of my raccoon is going to be. All right, so let me get some blue now. And I'm going to brush it very softly over my gray. And I'm not coloring hard, just very lightly going over and adding just a hint of blue. And it just gives you a different shade of gray. It's called a cool gray. I'm going to run my gray crayon back over it one more time. That's kind of the way I always make gray. I like it a little bit more cool, on the cool tone, maybe because blue is my favorite color. So you can see this side is just straight gray. This side, I added a little bit of blue, and you can see the difference. Okay, so what other trick can I teach you? Before I say goodbye today, let's see. For my reindeer, I used a peach marker. And for the antlers, you can see that I added just a hint of a shadow by taking my gray crayon and running it around the edge of the antler like this. Just adding a little hint of a shadow. You see that? So I just very lightly brushed my gray crayon along the edge like that. Now zooming back out. If you want to add eyelashes to any of your animals, you could do that using an extra fine point marker or just being very light-handed with your marker. So if you are going to be adding eyelashes, you want to be very soft and gentle when you're holding your marker, and you can just kind of very lightly tap those in. Well, I hope you had fun today doing our woodland animal, our winter wonderland animals. Aren't they cute? I think I'm going to call them woodland buddies. I hope you had fun, and I can't wait to see your picture. I have been receiving a few emails from you, and I really love it. So please send me a picture of your artwork. I can't wait to see it. Thank you so much. Have a great day.